between the Paps and the Coors, and the two swinging doors, faded words, but he read them just fine. If you cheat, hope it's death that you're cheating. If you lie, lie with someone you love. If you fight, do it for the right reasons. If you drink, then come drink one with us.
Hey, everybody out there. Guess what night it is? It's Wednesday and happy hour somewhere. And this is If You Drink on Vet Radio Syndicate. I'm your host, Heather Clark. And tonight I have a special co-host from the bar, Tim, Full Metal Vet. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
We had some tech issues earlier. Just want to make sure we're there. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm pretty good.
Good. I just saw you not too long ago. I was up in Columbus about a week and a half ago when we were actually at your house for St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, that's a good time.
And that was
I remember most of it.
I was all like revved up to drink that night. And I'm like at the shop and I'm like, come on, George, let's get going. Like Minnie and I are ready to like drink. And St. Patty's Day, it's going to be your birthday. Let's go. And just all hyped up. And then I got back to the house to pick up Minnie, and then I got to your house, and all of a sudden I was just like powered down. I was like, I'm really tired. I'm really tired tonight too, guys. I've been traveling all over. So what's up in the land of Columbus, Ohio?
Not a whole lot. It actually warmed up today. You picked the wrong time to come out. It is like 70 plus today. Yesterday it was in the 30s still. And walk out to let out the dogs, and it's just beautiful today.
Oh, yeah. When I was there, it was very cold. It was windy. It snowed a couple of times. I couldn't wait to get back to Florida. I drove all the way back from Ohio, which is with stops. It's about 18 plus hours. That's the very next day. I had to drive to get my daughter from the airport, home for a day, drove down to Key West, camped out there for about 4 or 5 days, and just dropped her off at the airport right before the show. And so I am struggling tonight to stay awake, but I'm here and ready to go. And I probably should be drinking something a little bit more energy wise instead of wine, but I'm here, and I'm really glad to see you guys, and I'm really glad that Tim could join me to keep me awake. But a little bit, I wanted to say happy Vietnam Veterans Day. I know so many amazing Vietnam veterans that I've had the pleasure of being, in my life. My grandfather was a World War II veteran and part of the VFW, and so just that generation was kind of my parents' age. And so I've had the opportunity to be around a lot of amazing ones. And I know that they continue to struggle with things with getting recognized even by the VA for disability. So we all salute you and we thank you for everything that you've done. Something else I wanted to mention before we kind of dive into tonight's topic is I have some brothers out in the Horn of Africa. Some are active duty, some of them are now out of the military and contracting for the bases out there and some of the outstations. And they reached out to me last week, I think it was. Some of them are very supportive of the kind of yoga classes that I've created for veterans. And they asked if I knew of anywhere to get yoga mats to send to the African bases and that AOR, because there's actually a lot of active duty that want to do yoga. I know, crazy. Like beg veterans to do yoga, but lots and lots of active duty are doing yoga now. It's become part of their physical readiness training, part of their normal stretching. They found it very effective for many things. They even have brought yoga teachers into Fort Dix for Army combat training. So there are a lot of brothers out there and a lot of sisters out there that want to do yoga. And the way that we can do that is instead of, trying to fundraise money, I'm trying to fundraise with yoga mats. So I'll be talking about this on my shows. I may or may not be in one of your areas. I toured last year the country teaching yoga. And while I won't be touring the country, I will be teaching a couple of classes in Florida. And instead of paying for the class, you'll actually just bring a yoga mat in place of payment. And if you don't do yoga, you can still just donate a mat and sit around and make fun of us. That's cool too. So I'll be doing a couple in Florida. I'm hoping to do some in Nashville when I move up there, and probably do a couple in Ohio. And Tim, I expect you to see you at class. So Tim and Minnie, and we'll grab your wife Heather, and get a bunch of people together to get some mats for these guys. Because you know what, if they want to do it, let's get those yoga mats out to them. The MWR ones are shitty and kind of gross, and a lot of people want to do it, and there just aren't enough. There's also outstations. So right now the immediate need is 50 yoga mats, but there's 5,000 just on the main base in Djibouti where they're at. So my goal for the next year or so is to gather enough mats that we can send them to everybody that wants to have them. Let's see what else we got here. So one thing I kind of wanted to talk about is everybody heard about the slap heard around the world. Even if you didn't watch the Oscars, right? So I kind of saw that as an opportunity. It's something that I bring up occasionally, and it's male mental health. You know, you see a lot of people struggling with mental health. They don't want to talk about it. There's always a stigma, especially in the military. It's, you know, the tough guy attitude. They don't want to talk about it. But after seeing that, I was kind of like, whoa. Like, first of all, was that real? We don't know if it's real. We don't know if it's staged. I don't know.
I've heard everything, and there's some pictures saying, oh, look at this really high resolution picture, he's got a face thing on, and then you hear other stories that no, it was real and he sounded really sincere. I'm like, they're professional actors, guys, so it's really hard to go one way or the other. But I guess with everything that Will Smith has been through with his wife and the affair and all that, there's definitely a lot of underlying things there. Fake or not, I'm sure there's still a lot of issues there that he's dealing with one way or another.
Yeah, you know, and like you said, they are professional actors, and it could have been all staged, you know, for views or whatever. They've actually already got it as a topic for the Red Table, his wife's talk show next week. So who knows? It may have been staged. But even if it wasn't, let's just treat it like it was real. You know, I follow Will Smith. I've been following him since the Prince of Bel-Air. He's always been one of my favorite actors. I think he's a very talented man. And when I first saw that, I thought, well, my boyfriend would totally do that too. Like he wouldn't slap somebody. He would just like go up and punch somebody, you know, if they insulted his wife, or girlfriend or whatever. But, you know, it's kind of like thinking about some of the history, you know, that they had and everything like that. And everybody has a breaking point, you know. Whether you accept the things that are happening in your own family or your world, everybody's got a breaking point, whether they seem agreeable or not. And if that was real, that was probably his breaking point, you know. And so that's kind of what I just wanted to talk about. Oh, we've got comments here. Oh, man. Dan the Man is here, guys. Sorry, I missed the comments. I'm like,
hey, we got radio on there, too.
Damn the Man. Danicam, two of my favorite people. You have having $2 PBRs. Nice. Well, as our owner of the radio station would say, Greeks invented the PBRs, just like they invented everything. And I had to look that up on Google because I didn't believe him. Thanks, radio. How's it going, man? Glad to see you here. We've got Mr. Airborne here. Seth, he's always talking. Yep, he's got the Airborne check-in. Hey, let's talk about Airborne.
What's up, Crown Eater?
Hey, John, how's it going? John is a weekly viewer. He's always on here giving great support out to all of the shows. Radio's like yoga. Well, somebody better, damn it. Did someone say radio? Well, yes, they did. Dirty Leg here. There he is. And thank you guys. I want to thank you guys for like hanging out on my show last week. I was on vacation with the family, so I was like, man, I can't go on. I gotta like spend some time with the family. So I know brought a couple of you all on the show to take over, and I was really appreciative of that. But also next week, before I forget, and I'll mention at the end again, is we have a really cool guest next week. One of the guys that is helping with our marketing is a retired Army colonel, I think. And he was on the show a couple months ago, but he's pretty well connected. And he actually connected me with one of the actors on The Walking Dead. So we have Diane from The Walking Dead is coming on next week. She's a really cool chick. I talked to her last week about dates and talking points for the show and stuff like that. And then we just sat there and bullshit for like 30 minutes. Could have talked to her all day. Very, very cool, very laid back. She's a very accomplished actress, actually. Went to some very prestigious acting schools in the US and overseas. And she is the daughter of a veteran, and a very important veteran, which she said she's willing to talk about. Her dad is actually the guy that stopped the Fort Hood shooter. He was there when that happened, and I guess that he actually went after him to stop him from shooting, and in the process was killed. So now Carrie does a lot of veteran advocacy work, which she's going to come on and talk about next week, along with all those really cool Walking Dead fighting scenes. I'm pretty excited to talk about that. Do you watch The Walking Dead?
Yeah, you know what? Probably the last 2 seasons I missed. I don't know why. I've had more time the last 2 years than I had the previous 9, so it doesn't really make any sense that I haven't caught back up. But it's funny, we were just talking about it earlier today. We need to get caught back up, and that generally means we start at the beginning, season 1, and just go all the way back through.
Yeah, my daughter, like, I don't like zombie movies. My daughter, I don't know what it is about her. She loves horror shows. I like a good suspense.
Me and my son.
Thriller. But it took her 3 years to convince me to watch The Walking Dead. And it wasn't until her vocal coach, who was married to a pastor, was like, oh, we love that show. We use The Walking Dead storylines in our sermons. And I was like, what? Really?
I mean, I guess it's believable. I mean, there's a lot of good virtuous stuff in the show. I mean, it really does teach you a lot about humanity.
It does. I think all those shows do, but usually they're kind of done in a movie format. But this one has been able to take that narrative longer for years at a time. So you kind of do get a chance to look more at humanity and stuff like that. But I'm pretty excited because she also told me, I was talking to her about my combat yoga, and she was telling me that they just found out that there's a hospital that's actually using the Walking Dead fighting scenes as exposure therapy for veterans.
Holy cow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And I was like, that's right up my alley. Do you know what I do? And I told her, and she's like, that's really cool. So I don't know.
That'd be a fun thing to go visit.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally would. And, you know, that's the kind of hook that you need to get some veterans into mental health care, is to kind of make it fun for them, kind of make it interesting. And it is a challenge. Let me tell you, I have a lot better time trying. I don't even have to convince a lot of active duty. They do it themselves anyway. Yeah. And the SEALs I worked with, they do it, you know, all day long. So it's just kind of become part of training. And when I first got into government contracting, I was surprised to see that they did a pilot program at Fort Dix last year. They were bringing in, I think, 20 yoga teachers to do a pilot test because they were trying to integrate yoga in with the combat training. And so that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years is designing those classes so that they're fun and cool.
Yeah. Well, like I told you, I'll work out. I'll do exercises all day. I'll stretch, but the couple times that I try yoga, and I'll do it occasionally, but not very often, because it kicks your butt. I'm like, how can staying in one position be so bad right now? Like, push-ups. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm done. I'll rest for a minute. Yoga, that little break they give you at the very end, you need it. You cannot move. You're just dead. I mean,
Yeah, a
it's
lot of
definitely
people.
therapeutic because it wears you out.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand like the physical intensity required behind it because you're using muscles a lot of times that you don't normally use on a daily basis. So
Oh yeah,
your muscles are screaming at you, your knees are screaming at you. And even if I go for even a couple of days or even a week, if I'm like don't do my own practice or something, like I can tell, I'm like, oh God, I haven't like used these muscles in like a week. And they're
yeah,
hurting and everything. But eventually, your body gets used to it, your knees become tough. But one of the big issues is trying to kind of adapt that because a lot of vets have bad knees and have bad backs and all
yeah.
that stuff. But I actually just found out, I don't know if George was telling you about the MMA event in June, I think, for Kevin Randleman. He's the fighter that just got inducted
Yeah.
into the UFC Hall of Fame in Las Vegas. George was his coach. And so he's putting on an event with Kevin's wife. And in between the fights, we're going to actually have clinics. And I'm going to do a yoga clinic for the fighters called MMA Stretch. So that's going to be
That's awesome.
cool because it's going to be my first opportunity to really teach fighters. And I had Matt Brown ask me to come to his gym and teach. I just haven't had time to get up there and actually do it. So the fighters, UFC fighters, guys, MMA fighters, like big ass badasses, are taking yoga with me. So you should too. Let me see if we got any more comments on here. I just totally forgot about the comments. Hopefully Dan didn't leave. Dan is someone that I met. It is an old man issue. You're right. An old woman issue too. So Dan is someone that I met through Irreverent Warriors. We kind of talked through Facebook for a while, and then we ended up at a couple of Irreverent Warrior hikes with his girlfriend and his really cool service dog, Maya. She's one of those beautiful gray pit bulls. And she is just like the most loving dog. But I love Dan and Kim, and Dan was actually even talking to me about becoming a yoga teacher. Because the VA is part of the whole Veteran Act. Not a lot of people know what this is because the VA has not been great at marketing it. But now they offer yoga, Tai Chi, equine therapy, acupuncture, chiropractic care for veterans under this act. It's created by Marine Captain Craig Lamb out of Pennsylvania. He represents a Pennsylvania district there, and basically it was taglined, I think it was meditation over methadone. So they just haven't done a great. Wow. Oh, Seth, I didn't know that you did the hikes. Hell, I didn't even know that. I have to see you at one. So they created this so that they would have to offer these services before that they prescribed medication or a therapist. But the last VA appointment I went to, because I had moved, they treated me like a brand new patient. So I just had like a stack of paperwork. There was one piece of paper that was a flyer that talked about it. And I was like, nobody's going to this in the stack of paper that you gave them. And they're just going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go check out this Tai Chi or yoga or whatever. Like, I was just like, whatever. And this is not working. And even though they had digital classes and they actually have a yoga and Tai Chi university that you could go to and become certified to teach. I was talking to George about this and what George and I do with our wellness company. I was like, yeah, we got to change the system here because this is not cutting it. And I don't like to force people's hands to do stuff. But at the same time, sometimes I need like a little push. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're digging our heels into right now. Seth says in Chicago.
The VA has so many programs, and although, yeah, they do a lot of stuff very well and very great, I think introducing new programs they just struggle with because maybe it's pandemic right now, or maybe it's just that they offer so many there's just a lot of them that are just sitting in the wayside waiting for someone or a group like you in the VRS to see them and actually advertise them for them.
Yeah, it was so much information. I was really overloaded, and I was like, if I'm becoming overwhelmed by this information, then probably so are they. And it was weird because the nurse, when she got done taking my vitals, followed me out to the waiting room. And because I was talking to her about teaching yoga for vets, and she's like, can you please bring a yoga program to the veteran nurses and doctors? She's like, we need it. We're stressed out. She's like, can you guys work on that too? I was like, it's actually not a bad idea. I'm gonna have to think about that.
But it's kind of like in Japan how they work out before going into work, and their warehouses they'll do at least some kind of stretching or something. I mean, there's nothing wrong with adopting great programs like that.
It's really cool because in Japan and China, you'll walk out early in the mornings, and the parks are filled with people doing like Tai Chi. It's I think we lost him, but it's pretty crazy to see. But it's also a great example for us to follow. Oh, got you back.
Right.
Got you back. But I put
I bounce on and off.
I put the link in the comment section if anybody wants to come on tonight. I'm going to be hanging out with Tim here. Usually my rule of thumb is, I'm kind of going till about 35 minutes in. If we don't have anybody come on by then I usually hop off because I don't want to babble my head off too much. But, kind of going back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the show is I think that mental health for men is really important, and something that, I see with my own son struggle with relationships. I've seen through many of my male friends and stuff like that is and even the huge case with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and stuff like that is
right.
Males are not always the one that are abusers. Females can be just as big assholes, and they can be the abusive ones. And I don't think that it's recognized or understood. And I've talked to some of my friends about that, especially ones that were kind of abused as children. And they were I'm like, I think you were so abused as children, you do not recognize that you're being abused now, because it's from a female, it's from your wife or your girlfriend or something like that. I'm like, it's not all toxicity is in just one place. Many people can be like that. So I think it's important to recognize that. And I hope they get that across to my son too. And just friends that I have are in very toxic relationships. And I'm just like, man, life is too short,
Yeah. I've seen it with both of my children being in those kind of situations. I mean, I think they've grown a lot. Unfortunately, sometimes I guess they have flashbacks to the worst times, and it messes up a little bit of the current relationships. But I think that's the one great dynamic about having a military family is we all really feed off each other. I learn a lot from my children. They're very supportive for me. So, and I do my best to support them. And obviously my wife, anytime we have problems, we're a pretty open family, but I think that stems from everyone sitting down at the table every single night, eating dinner all through growing up for them,
Yeah, I think that is really, dinner is a huge thing. And I was really adamant about that with my kids, even when I was a single mom. And then I kind of got away from it. I would be so exhausted by the time that I actually made dinner after working all day. It was sometimes tough for me to sit down. I just kind of wanted a moment to myself. But I think you're right. I think those little things are really important in families. And I didn't grow up with a father, and I can tell how that impacted my life and my choices in relationships. I can look back and say that now, that I would have been better with my father in the picture, whether he was with my mother or not, at least, having some kind of relationship. And we grow up and we see these relationships. And part of the reason why I became divorced is I didn't want my children to think what they were seeing on a day-to-day basis was okay. I didn't want them to fall into those same kind of relationships and think that they should have to deal with the same thing, and it was normal. And even though my family was very religious, they were like, oh no, you need to work it out. I'm like, I'm gonna try for 10 years to work it out. It's not getting any better. My children are getting to an age that they are recognizing what's going on and they are commenting on it. And I was like, it's not a healthy way to be. And so I just think that needs to be recognized more. I've been on a couple other people's podcasts where I was the guest, and we are actually talking about this same subject of what it's like to be a single mother in the military and raise boys. And it's tough when you don't have the male figure that you want. But I had so many great military male friends in my life. Mm-hmm. I feel like that kind of helped make up for it. And I just don't want my children to be in toxic relationships like I was, or my son with a girl, or my daughters with a guy, or whatever. I think that everybody should have that equal treatment. And while I support the Me Too movement, I think that it's gone a little bit extreme. And I think that we also need a movement for men. That's my opinion. And coming from someone that didn't grow up with a father and had very bad relationship with men, I'm supporting the men movement. That I want to see more men recognize their movement that they do.
I think if we could keep Hollywood out of the picture, I mean, for Christ's sake, our government is asking influencers to speak on subjects. Is it because our government's doing such a poor job speaking on it themselves? Is it because we allow ourselves to get enveloped in movies and TV shows and all the, I guess, what are the shows that,
social media,
Jersey Shores and all that? Yeah, social media in general.
Reality.
But these shows that are just so unrealistic to most of us.
Yeah, it's hard to, and luckily my two kids that are actually millennials, I have two millennials, and then I have one, I guess it's Z something. I don't know. She told me the other day I couldn't even pronounce it really. One thing I could say is that they don't like being millennials. They don't like how social media dominates everything. And in fact, my daughter I can never get a hold of her because she does not use her phone. She doesn't really use social media. My son doesn't either. Like, they're outside.
Yeah, that's amazing.
They're outside hunting. They're outside fishing. They're outside spending time with their families. My youngest, she's definitely on her phone more, but she even recognizes and has conversations with me. They all do, about what's going on in the world in the news. Like, why don't people our age talk about the news? Or like, why are they so obsessed with following all of these influencers? And I think it's a pretty sad day when the government is reaching out to influencers to get out a message. That's pretty sad.
I mean, it might not be a bad idea as long as they're trying to get out the right message. At least that's one way they're actually going to get a message across to the people that aren't paying attention to everything else. But is it because we have such little faith in any of our news stations? I mean, is it that we have such little faith in any of our government that we don't even want to watch it or pay attention anymore? And I've always preached to my kids, even if you don't voice or vote, you've still made the choice in how your government's running. By not voting, you're letting them do whatever the hell they want, so you can't really complain about it. But in the other hand, you've got so many politicians sending out information on TV saying this guy did this or this guy did that, or not giving you the whole story, and it's hard to believe anything anymore. So I guess I don't blame these kids for being lost in a virtual world where they don't have to deal with real life problems. But at some point, just like in the Ukraine, it's going to hit us too, and we're going to have to deal with real world problems, especially the younger generation. And
yeah, I was thinking about that. When we were kids, like, the news came on at 5 or 6. Yeah. And, like, the family watched it before they watched Jeopardy or whatever, but it came on once a day. And then, sometimes you could catch it in the morning or something before school. Mm-hmm. It was playing. We did not have news going 24/7.
Right.
And it's turned into more of entertainment than it actually has for the actual purpose of informing the public of things that are going on. Yep. And it's Yeah, I used to watch the news every day with my morning coffee, and about 10 years ago I stopped, and I was like, this is like junk. Like I don't know who to believe, and being an intelligence too, a lot of intelligence is found through open source, through looking online and trying to
Yep.
sift through all this information of what was actually correct and wasn't, was exhausting. And I remember I met a Buddhist monk from Tibet, actually, came to speak, and I said something about not wanting to watch the news because there's so much negativity, and I was trying to get like negative things out of my life. And he goes, "Oh, well, you should watch the Chinese news because they don't ever do anything wrong." And I just started laughing, because I've had that huge beef with China for like 50 years or something like that. And I was like, wow,
Right.
Tibetan monk just like put me in my place, and it was pretty funny because he was he was pretty comical, actually. But yeah, I actually, when I do papers, even I'll look at like foreign news stations like the BBC or even Al Jazeera. Even though Al Jazeera has like two different ways they do news, for the Middle East and the rest of the world, a lot of their information when I was doing COVID research was actually so much more informative, and the ways that they were taking information and getting out to the public was so much better than any of our news stations. I really couldn't believe it. So I actually check them out when I do research, when I need like real time stuff.
Yeah, I do. When I read all the apps on my phone, I do read a lot of BBC. The problem with BBC is just the way they push the whole COVID thing. It seems like over there, it is completely used as an agenda, not really giving true information or results on anything. I'm like, why are you reporting on that in America? I haven't heard anything about that, but it's like they're pushing America's got serious COVID problems for whatever agenda they want to push over there against us. I mean, I think what a lot of people forget is, oh, I love Europe. Oh, Paris is beautiful. Oh, England's great. They're the reason we're over here, people. I mean,
That's true.
we
That's true.
we left there for a reason.
Yeah, where we came from.
Yep.
I actually said I
They're
know.
always going to bag on us.
That's because they're probably still pissed off. I sat in a really good political discussion for school last month, actually, and they had brought up the Federalist Papers, and it's like basically the minutes that they were taking during the Constitution. I was like, I haven't read that yet, but it's something that I want to read, because kind of my goal going forward this year is to no longer fall asleep to the TV, because I am terrible about falling asleep to white noise. I don't know why, but I am. So my goals have been
white noise.
Read a book. Yeah, to read kind of. I love suspense, so I'm kind of like, okay, I'm gonna read a suspense. Like, this is my treat to read this. But the next book I read has got to be like something educational. So my next educational read is the Federalist Papers.
What was really great about the Federalist invitation? Yeah. What was really great about the Federalist Papers is that was something that every school kid was required to read as they were released. And actually, current events was an extremely important thing up until 60, 70 years ago. When we stopped forcing people to read bills that were being passed. And, it was important for children to understand what this meant, like conjunction, junction, what's your function? Why don't we push that anymore? It's more like, hey, look at this agenda, look at that agenda. Don't look at the real problems our government's facing and trying to write up for us. Look at everything else. Be distracted. When, 70 years ago, my parents, my grandparents, they had to stay up on current affairs. It was like an important part of life. And that's just kind of gone to the wayside, like the Federalist Papers. It'd be nice to have something like that again.
Yeah, well, actually, now that you talk, that reminds me, like, yeah, when I was in school, I do remember current events being a class that I took in junior high. I think even in high school, but I definitely remember junior high that was the name of the class. And we had to find information through newspapers because we didn't have computers at the time. But I've been creating a couple of different public healthcare programs. One of them was for school-aged children, and it was to get them to do things to not just be healthier, but to do better in school and change behavior patterns and stuff like that. And I thought,
Yeah.
I've heard this before. I worked at a university. I also taught school, and something that I find that all my kids, harp on is, why do we have to do all of these subjects that we're never going to do anything with? Why don't they teach us about real life? Like, why is there not financial literacy, as a curriculum requirement for high school? Why is there not relationship classes? I'm like, this is what a relationship is supposed to look like. A healthy relationship is supposed to look like in communication, like teach our children how to communicate with their family members or with other students, learn how to express yourself. And this is another one, current events. Like, they talk about American history in my daughter's high school, but they don't really touch on current events. And that's one thing I remember my son, just like, I think he was a sophomore. He got really frustrated. He's like, I try to talk to people my age about what's going on in the world. First of all, they have no clue. He's like, and second of all, they don't care. They don't want to talk about it. He's like, they're too busy on their phones. Like, I can't even get them out of the house to go skateboard because they're all talking on their phones to each other while they're at their houses. That's like their Friday night now.
Sitting in the same room.
Thomas Paine's Common Sense, I've heard of that one too, explains what the Constitution means in plain language. That's a good one for a lot of people because I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with even trying to read it.
Yeah. Oliver DeMille wrote a book called 1913, and it basically talks about how we got off the gold standard and how our currency changed and how we gave up everything to the banks. I believe he also wrote the Thomas Jefferson. I can't remember the name of the book, but it's another book, and it's about basically some of the founding fathers' true principles and what they were looking at. And it was written in a way for common people to read it, pick up the book, read it, and understand it real well. And I think he's a really under appreciated author. If you ever get a chance, look up Oliver DeMille. And
is it 1913?
Yeah, he is a great, great read.
I actually, right before I came on the show, I was actually in a call with a publisher. I think she's out of California or New York. My internship has a lot of amazing celebrity mentors that come on, and she was one of them. And she's talking about if you want to write a book, and these are the things to think about. And she had some great, just really great pointers that I'd never even thought about how people write books, because I've always been kind of overwhelmed to like how to even like start that. But I think that writing is a really great tool for veterans, regardless if you're going to publish it or not. Like write it down, get it out somewhere. It's great therapy. Well, it doesn't look like anybody's hopping on with us tonight. We got 2 people hanging with us, which I greatly appreciate. I'm probably going to cut it off a little bit early tonight, guys. I am so exhausted right now. I'm having a hard time even forming sentences. I want to thank Tim for coming on and hanging out with me so I didn't have to hang with myself. I want to make sure that you all... Oh, wait, KJ's here. Hold on. Hold up. We can't go if she's going to come on.
Book and censorship. I like what he wrote there about Wilson admitting he regretted signing the Federal Reserve. Yeah.
KJ, the link is in the comment section if you want to click that link and come on. We'd love to have you on. Yeah, that political discussion actually brought up some stuff with Jefferson too, and just like stuff that like people don't want to talk about that's actually true and factual, but they don't want to talk about. So I found it pretty interesting, and I don't usually get into those conversations, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So let's see if she is able to come on. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, I lost my train of thought. That's how simple-minded I am.
I've been losing my train of thought a lot lately. I've literally been so tired. Like, I go to talk and I hear it in my head, and then realize that I haven't said it out loud when I'm in a conversation with somebody, or I've said like part of the sentence but didn't include the words. Like that's how tired I've been lately. And I'm like having dinner with my friends at Fort Lauderdale. And I thought, man, they probably think I'm crazy because I'm like trying to get a sentence out and I can't.
Right.
Hey, girl. How are you?
Hey.
Hi, guys. Sorry about that. My child decided to spill a bunch of shit on me.
I always love that.
Right.
Hey, y'all. Hold on. Let me get rid of this background noise. Sorry about that. My child decided to spill a bunch of shit on me.
Always love that. Yeah, my son is coming to visit, and he's out fishing right now. It's like, if you come home, I'm doing my podcast. You have to be quiet when you come home.
Okay.
So what's up?
A lot better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. Oh, hold on. Let me get out of my Facebook. There we go. Because I heard you guys talking, and I'm sitting here like, her lips aren't moving, but she's talking. I forgot I had the other page open. Hi, guys. Sorry, I'm joining you. Let me take my pants off so I can get in bed. Excuse me.
I think you might have a bad connection,
Live
Heather,
from the
because I was
bedroom.
doing the same thing.
Oh, it sounds good over here. I put on my earphones and I think I got all the noise away. No, I woke up late because I was taking a nap and then I remembered your podcast was on and I was like, oh my God, let me go on and see what's going on. And
thank you for hopping on. Yeah, we covered a lot of subjects tonight, didn't we?
Yeah.
We started out talking
when
about Will Smith and then we got into history and yoga and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, you say Will Smith and it's like my heart starts hurting because like a few weeks ago, Chris Rock was talking about how he always got bullied by the bigger kids in school. And then on Instagram, they showed his reaction after he got slapped. And it was like, it had sad music. And I'm pretty tough, but sad music. And then there was like a Stitch meme after it. And I was like, oh, Lord. So I just, I've accidentally smacked a couple people in my time, but they were bigger than me. So yeah. Yeah. But and I was trying to get in to hear about your yoga thing because so I'm planning the undie ruck and like I got a message today about like a whole entire unit and a couple generals interested in participating, but one thing I was like, okay, for what about the people who can't ruck? How can we incorporate them? And then Brandy was like, see if Heather can do some yoga while they're doing the ruck and lead it. It's some gun yoga. And I was like, hey, Heather, I'll bake you a pie for some yoga for people that can't ruck.
That'd be awesome. George and I are actually working on adaptive yoga in a way that nobody else has done so that anybody with any kind of physical capability, even in a wheelchair, can do the moves and benefit from it. Yeah, I would love to do that. And kind of something I'm doing is I had some brothers from the Horn of Africa reach out to me that are deployed. They need yoga mats. And so I've been setting up classes to teach. And instead of paying for the class, you bring a yoga mat to donate to a active duty soldier.
Okay, because I know what I can ask on my end too, and we can figure out the logistics of the shipping. I could see out here they've been like, we got an assignment. There's a place out here in San Antonio called Wrinkle Court Military Village, and someone bought out the old 70s barracks and they're putting homeless veterans in there through a GI forum. So I normally reach out to my neighborhood to get items to fill up these rooms. And I saw your yoga mats thing, but I didn't think about it. But I feel like we're gonna do a dinner, like one of those plate drives. Like we need these donations and these items for the ruck march, but I can include those mats in there so we can get some.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Because they're really out here. It's close by Lackland, and I think a lot of people, as they're getting to know about the veteran homelessness, especially out here in San Antonio, a lot of them are starting to feel real guilty because they didn't think too much about it. Especially, I talked to a city official today, and he's like, I heard you had a lot to say, about how we were handling veteran homelessness, and I was like, you guys want a coin, we're Military City USA, but what are you actually doing? He's like, well,
Yeah.
we help stop veteran suicides. I was like, did you know that over 60% of the veterans that killed themselves have been chronically homeless? He's like, oh, I didn't know that. So you're not doing anything. Is that what you called me to tell me you weren't doing anything, or you calling me to tell me you want to do something to change it? So we actually got into in-depth conversation about it, but I was definitely trying to figure out, not everybody's going to be able to ruck, but people want to participate. So how can we do that? So I was like, so when I remembered about your gun yoga, I was like, if you're willing to come out here for that day, get your area where people can actually do something, because the ruck's going to be about 4 or 5 hours, so it's like you would have I don't know how long your yoga is, but you would be able to do like multiple sessions and whatnot to kind of incorporate. We can also get a bin for some yoga mats delivered, because I know at Five Below, my kids tear them up all the time, so I usually get them for like $2-3 at Five Below, and so it's like, if I was going to talk to Five Below anyways, because they're going to donate some products for Project Still, like home decor stuff, and I'm pretty sure I can get them to donate some
That
yoga
would
mats.
be great. Yeah. Yeah. Let me know. We'll coordinate and see what the date is. And
And July 3rd. Woohoo!
July 3rd. 4th of
Okay.
July.
Yeah.
You see the comment, are you going to feed everyone MREs?
No.
Are you going to really make a ruck? A whole ruck experience?
We thought about it too, and I was like, how attractive would that be? Like, my experience with MREs, they kept taking our damn candy out, and I didn't have the best, but someone on Lackland was like, yeah, we can donate a bunch of MREs, and I was like, are they expired? I know they don't
You can do
expire, but I had an expired one. Those eggs were
Some
not
people may
yellow.
do it for fun. Some people may just enjoy it. So it
Yeah,
wouldn't be
because
bad to have a couple cases sitting there. Maybe someone that just wants to remember.
You need an MRE cake. That would be cool.
yeah, that
Well, if
could
it had
definitely be done.
a cake looks like okay, that'd
It
probably be
looks like an MRE, and like have a couple things outside,
yeah.
like the little peanut butter
The
that are
little peanut
edible.
butter packets. Yeah. Actually, let me. They say write that down. Write that down. Yeah, because it'll be. I mean, it's pretty tame, but it's downtown San Antonio. We're starting at a VFW. Um, we're starting at a VFW, and that's where everybody grabs the rucksack and they load it up with the items that the homeless need. Um, and then they're gonna ruck the 12 miles right along the Riverwalk, and then we're in negotiations. Uh, we're in negotiations with the city about where the perfect place is, because out here in San Antonio, if you want to have a block party, it's only like $100 per block. So they thought it'd be a good selling point for them if we did it by the Alamo, because the Alamo is already rigged for fireworks, and we'd have some fireworks
That
there.
would be
And
nice.
so,
Alamo's
That's
beautiful
such a
too. I love
beautiful
that whole
area.
area.
Yeah, I love
yeah,
down by the river, walk and stuff like that.
yeah.
And
So and the
BFW
ruck's right
76
next
and
to
all
the
that.
river, like that whole that. Oh,
Wow.
oh shit. Okay, that's okay. I got weed. Um, yes, the whole entire ruck is right along the river the entire time. So I figured, if some people happen to get voluntold to do it, um, it'd be a nice scenery. Because I know it's gonna get to that point where they're like, "Hey, we need 20 people. You do this," and people are like, "Oh," especially Air Force. Like I love my branch, but we don't like being voluntold, and we don't like doing anything physically active in the heat. So I'm hoping to guilt folks along, because it's like, hey, if our brothers, and there's literally a guy who I served with, and I felt really bad because kind of felt bad, but he could not maintain his training. and he had mental health issues. And part of my job in the Air Force was I would have to change their MOSs pretty much to a different one if they were getting kicked out. And I begged he was security forces, and I begged his CSS to talk to the unit. I talked to the senior master, and I was like, hey, get him help and he can have his job. It's literally in the file you're giving me that go get water. You need water. You don't need juice. You need water. You're going to be made out of juice soon. Go get water. And I was like, hey, he has mental health issues. He's my friend. Help him out. And they didn't. And I know last year I saw him and he was kind of rough. And I was like, John? He's like, oh, Sops. And we sat there and we talked, and he was homeless. So he was one of my first batch who I was able to get him into an extended stay for about a month and a half. But we busted our butts, and actually last week he communicated with me, and he's closing on his first house because we were able to get his credit fixed. Because I typed up a bunch of letters and I sent them out to the credit bureaus and stuff like that. And he now works at a QT. And he said if he can, he'll join the ruck. But yeah, so it's like I try to explain to people, especially out here in San Antonio who are military, hey, you never know when you're going to see the person you served with. Like, we went to BMT with over 5,000 people. Do you really think all 5,000 people had a successful transition? And that's for our week graduation. Do you think all those people had a successful transition when they got out? Because I'll tell you, the statistics is 50% is a no. And so I think that what propelled me to work so much harder. So I'm hoping, I don't want to say I want to guilt people, but it's a problem because it contributes largely to the suicide.
I think it's reached the point that we need to start guilting people. I've reached that point too. I'm just like, you know what? I'm tired of asking you and begging you to do this. This is such easy things that I'm asking you to do that can change your whole life. Like, I'm at the point like, okay, how do we make them do this?
Yeah. So luckily, I'm going to talk to the person who has their unit signing up, and there's another who's interested in their unit, but their commander wants me to go to a commander's call and actually pitch what we're doing. So we have this idea that we're going to talk to my old unit, and because commander calls, they happen once a month, once every couple months. Go get it. You get juice. Sorry, they've been on me all day about juice because we switched to water and Mio and Crystal Light, and they can tell the difference, and they don't care. And they puked in this thing and they put it on my thing, and that was what they just poured out right now. So there's puke on my floor because they didn't like you ever give a kid something. Like, you ever give a kid something and they're so dramatic and not liking it that they make themselves puke? That's what these two do. It was
beef stew. My son would do it beef stew every single time.
Yeah, so they're that's why I cringed. That's why I kind of yelled, because I saw the throw up on my floor, but I was like, I got a carpet cleaner. Sorry. But yeah, so we're about to...
my son's 24 now. He still gags when he sees beef stew. So there's no way. I don't know.
Traumatic.
I thought it, yeah. They just teach themselves to hate stuff, and then they end up hating it for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and after puking, they're eating hot fries right now.
Yeah,
I don't understand it. But yeah, so if you want to experiment adaptive, because I told George I already wanted a VRS tent there, and as many podcasters that can come out. Don't make yourself puke on my bed. I will move out. You can have the house. But I told him I wanted a VRS tent so that, as many podcasters can come. And since it's an all-day event and we always get on at different times and we're going, into the night, I figured why not all podcast live from there, because it's one of San Antonio's biggest events associated with veteran homelessness, which is actually...
Have you reached out to Reverend Warriors in San Antonio? Their San Antonio chapter?
I didn't know they had a chapter in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm. They have a big chapter. That's where the president actually lives. So I'll hook you up with them, because a lot of people probably come from Austin and San Antonio.
Oh, that'd be great. I didn't know they had a San Antonio chat because I tell you what, look, I'm not trying to, but I do like watching. I do like to watch. I didn't know they had them so close to home. Maybe that's, you know, maybe
Yeah, there's
yeah.
a lot of them in Texas, but I gotta wrap things up because radio's coming on with Walk the Line right after me.
Yep.
Bobby the Boot radio. One of them's gonna show up, come up here at 9:00. But thank you so much, Tim, for coming on. Thank you, KJ. I'm going to talk to you later, probably maybe next week. I'll hook up with you and we'll talk more about that. But I would love to come out and do that. That sounds like an amazing time. And as I'm wrapping up the show, and remind you guys that next week we have Carrie Cahill from The Walking Dead. Y'all behave. She's not a vet. She's a vet's kid. So we got to all behave a little bit on here, but she's coming on to talk about what it's like to be an actor, what it's like about all those cool fighting scenes they do in The Walking Dead. And she's going to talk about some work that she does with the VA on behalf of veterans because her dad was a veteran and he's passed now. So she's very passionate about that work. Also, Mats for Troops is my new project. I got brothers in Africa reaching out to me that are active duty deployed. They need yoga mats. They've asked for my help. If you're interested in donating yoga mats, please hit me up in the comment section, or I will be announcing different locations that I'm going to be teaching yoga, such as with KJ in Texas, and I'll be in a couple different states as well as online. We want to get as many mats out to them as possible so the outstations have them too and to be able to pay for shipping. But next week I got special co-host Chris Turner coming on with me as well. And I hope that you guys have a great night. Thank you all for coming and checking in. And Tim says he loves beef stew. So if you all drink, please come drink one with us here at Vet Radio Syndicate. Have a great weekend, y'all.
You too. See you later. Catch Radio Show.